Welcome back to the Whisper Knows. This is the place where stories don't scream, they whisper. Tonight's question is simple, and once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. What if it's true that the elevator never really stops on the 13th floor? Not because it's unlucky, not because the number was removed from the buttons, but because the floor still exists, and sometimes the elevator stops there anyway. Most modern buildings will tell you they don't have a 13th floor. You'll see the buttons jump from 12 straight to 14, as if skipping a number could erase a superstition that's older than steel and concrete. But numbers don't disappear, they hide. The Ravenwood Residences was one of those buildings. 37 floors, glass facade, silent hallways, the kind of place where footsteps echo too long and mirrors never quite feel empty. Evan Cole moved there on a rainy Tuesday. He was a data analyst, a man who trusted patterns, logic, and systems that behaved the way they were designed to. He didn't believe in curses, he believed in malfunctions. On his first night, Evan noticed something odd. The elevator ride from the lobby to the 21st floor took longer than expected. Not much longer, just enough to notice. The digital screen showed the numbers climbing. 5, 6, 7. At 12, the display hesitated. Not froze, not flickered, it hesitated. Then it jumped to 14. The doors never opened. Evan frowned, shrugged it off, and told himself the same thing everyone does. Old building, old elevator, minor delay. But that hesitation stuck with him, because it didn't feel like a glitch. It felt like a decision. Over the next few days, Evan began paying attention. Every ride was smooth, every stop precise, except for one moment, between 12 and 14. Always the same pause, always the same fraction of a second where the elevator seemed to breathe. Late one night, coming home after midnight, Evan was alone in the elevator. The lights dimmed slightly as it passed the 12th floor. The pause came again, but this time he felt it. A shift, a pressure change, as if the elevator had stopped where it wasn't supposed to. The display still read 14, but the doors didn't open. Instead, a soft chime echoed through the cabin. Not the arrival chime, a different one, lower, slower. The doors stayed closed for 3 full seconds. Then the elevator continued upward. When the doors finally opened on Evan's floor, his heart was racing. Not from fear, from confusion, because he could swear he'd heard something behind the song, a sound behind the walls, like fingers dragging slowly across metal. Evan started asking questions. Casually at first. The concierge smiled too quickly when Evan mentioned the elevator delay. "Old machinery," she said. "Nothing to worry about." A neighbor on the 18th floor reacted differently. Her smile faded. "You felt it too?" she asked. Evan didn't respond right away. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Don't talk about it in the hallways." That night, Evan searched the building's records, public documents, blueprints, archived permits. The original plans from the 1960s clearly showed a 13th floor. Same layout as the others, same number of units. But in a revision dated 3 years later, the 13th floor was gone. Not removed, renumbered. The space between 12 and 14 was labeled mechanical level. No apartments, no access listed, just space. Evan checked the stairwell. Between the 12th and 14th floors, the stairs felt longer. The echo changed, and there was something else. A door. Unmarked, no number, no handle on the outside. Just a smooth metal surface flush with the wall. When Evan pressed his ear against it, he heard nothing, but the silence felt occupied. Later that week, Evan met Marcus, a former maintenance worker, at a bar nearby. Marcus had worked at Ravenwood for 12 years. When Evan asked about the 13th floor, Marcus didn't laugh. He finished his drink, then ordered another. They told us it was sealed after the accident. What accident? Marcus stared into his glass. Electrics aren't supposed to stop there, he said, but sometimes they do. He leaned in, and when they do, you don't want to be inside. Evan pressed for details. Marcus stood up. Some floors aren't meant to be visited, he said, especially the ones that never left.
It happened at 3:07 a.m. Evan couldn't sleep. The building was quiet in the way only high-rises can be. Not silent, but distant, like the city was holding its breath. He decided to get some air. The elevator arrived almost instantly. Too fast. Inside, the lights flickered once. As the elevator descended, Evan felt that familiar tension in his chest. 12. The pause came. But this time, the display didn't jump. It stayed. 13. The number glowed dimly, like it hadn't been used in years. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. What lay beyond wasn't darkness. It was a hallway, carpeted, lit, identical to every other floor, except for one thing. Every door was slightly open, and every apartment was empty. No furniture, no lights, just walls stained with something darker than shadow. The air smelled old, not dusty, old in the way hospitals smell old. Evan stepped out. Behind him, the elevator doors stayed open. At the end of the hall, one door was fully ajar. From inside, he heard breathing, slow, patient. As Evan took a step toward it, the lights flickered violently. The breathing stopped, and the elevator doors behind him began to close.
The elevator doors kept closing, slowly. Not malfunctioning, not stuck. Closing, deliberately. Evan spun around and lunged forward, shoving his arm between the doors. Pain shot through his shoulder as the doors resisted, then stopped. The elevator let out a low, irritated hum, almost like a growl. Evan pulled himself back inside just as the doors snapped shut. The display flickered wildly. 14, 12, 13, 14. The cabin shook. Lights dimmed to a sickly yellow, and then the elevator began to rise. Too fast. When the doors finally opened on the lobby floor, Evan collapsed forward, gasping. The security guard looked up from his desk. "You okay, man?" Evan nodded. Lied. He didn't sleep that night, or the next,
because every time he closed his eyes, he saw that hallway, the open doors, the stains on the walls, the breathing. A week passed before Evan noticed something else. People were missing. Not vanished dramatically, not reported missing, just gone. Apartment lights that never turned on again, mail piling up behind doors that no one answered. And always, those apartments were stacked vertically, one above the other, like something was climbing. Evan returned to the stairwell. The unmarked door was different now, scratched from the inside. Long grooves ran across the metal, all at the same height, as if something had been dragged out. That night, Evan received a message slipped under his apartment door. No envelope, just a folded piece of paper. 3 words, written in shaky ink. It remembers you.
Evan confronted Marcus again. This time, Marcus didn't deny anything. "It's not a floor," he said. "It's a buffer." "A buffer for what?" "For mistakes." Marcus explained that decades ago, Ravenwood was built over something older. Not a burial ground, not a cult site, something worse. A place where people disappeared quietly. When construction began, workers reported hearing footsteps where no one stood, elevators stopping on unfinished levels, people stepping out and never stepping back in. So they sealed it, renumbered it, pretended it didn't exist. But places like that don't stay empty. They feed on routine, Marcus said, on patterns, on people who ride the same elevator every day. Evan felt sick. "I went there." Marcus went pale. "It opened for you?" Evan nodded. Marcus stood up slowly. "That means it chose you." That night, the elevator came for Evan. He didn't press the button. The doors opened on their own. The display read 13. The hallway looked more alive now, lights brighter, walls cleaner, and the doors were no longer empty. Inside each apartment, Evan saw silhouettes, standing still, facing the doorways, waiting. At the end of the hall stood something new, an elevator, older, smaller. Its doors were open. Inside, Evan saw mirrors, and in those mirrors, he saw himself stepping inside, over and over again. The breathing returned, louder now, closer. The floor wasn't hiding anymore. It was expanding, learning, replacing. Evan ran. He dove back into the main elevator just as the door slammed shut behind him. As the cabin rose, Evan felt something brush his ankle. A hand, cold, gripping, then gone.
Ravenwood was evacuated 3 months later. Officially, it was due to structural concerns. Unofficially, no one could explain why the elevators kept stopping on non-existent floors, or why the cameras never showed anyone exiting, only entering. Evan moved away, changed cities, changed buildings, but elevators are everywhere, and sometimes, late at night, when Evan rides alone, the lights dim, the cabin hesitates, between 12 and 14. The display flickers, and for just a second, the number 13 appears. Because the truth is this: the elevator never really stops on the 13th floor. It waits, and once it knows you, it remembers. This has been The Whisper Knows, and some floors don't disappear. They just learn how to follow. Good night. Subscribe if you dare to listen.